But participants.
Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome to the December meeting of the Isla Board. A short video will be played by further information.
Welcome to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
When the meeting begins momentarily, the chair will take a roll call, explain any specific rules for this particular board, and then move to public comment. The name of the board member will appear on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. For instance, this is board member Y, and this is board member E. Public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. You can indicate that you are ready to testify by clicking on the Raise Hand button being circled by the mouse on your screen now. At the appropriate time, the board will recognize you to speak and ask you to unmute your mic as shown here. Again, public testimony will be accepted at the beginning of the meeting and before each agenda item. Public attendees will not be able to unmute their microphone until recognized by the board. Public attendees who are recognized to testify will be asked to identify themselves by name and their affiliated organization if applicable. Please mute your microphone when you are finished speaking as a courtesy to others and members of the board. Public attendees will not be able to unmute themselves after the testimony is completed unless recognized again after raising their hand. At some point during the meeting, the board may choose to move into executive session. When the board moves into executive session, the board members' microphones and video feeds will be turned off, and a similar screen as you see now will be displayed. When the board returns from executive session, their microphones will be turned on as well as their video cameras.
Welcome again to the Professional and Vocational Licensing Virtual Board Meeting.
At this time, the chair will call the meeting to order and take a roll call, as well as explain any additional rules that may be specific to this board.
Thank you. Calling the meeting to order, 10:06. I'm going to ask Ms. Nancy Cassandro, Vice Chair, provide some information about internet and phone access.
Internet access. You can even provide live oral testimony. At the top of the agenda. You'll be asked to enter board requests that you enter in, which may use a pseudonym or other identified information. You will also be asked to ask for an email. They fill in this field with any entry in the email. Your microphone will be automatically muted. The chairperson asks for public testimony. You may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually invite you to testify to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone and mute the microphone after you finish. On request, your Zoom video or similar on-camera option will be enabled to allow you to be visible to board members and other meeting participants while presenting oral testimony. Please turn off your camera after you testify. It is the individual testifier's responsibility to ensure that they have the video and internet capabilities to successfully stream or remotely testify. The board maintains the authority to remove and block the video. To willfully disrupt, compromise the conduct of the meeting. The phone access. If you do not get internet access, they get audio only access by calling the phone number listed at the top of the meeting. Upon dialing the number, to enter the meeting ID, which is also listed at the top. After entering the meeting ID, you are asked to either enter your panelist number or wait to be admitted. Will not have a panelist number, so please wait until you are admitted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, testify by entering the asterisk key, then 9 on your phone. After entering the asterisk key and then the number 9, a voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been done. When recognized by the chairperson, you can unmute yourself by pressing the asterisk key. Number 6. A voice prompt will let you know that you are unmuted. Once you are finished speaking, please enter the asterisk and 6 again to leave. With both internet and phone access, when testifying, you have to identify yourself and the organization that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 5 minutes of testimony per agenda item. If connecting to the meeting is lost for more than 30 minutes, the meeting will be continued on a specified date and time. This information will be provided on the board's website. Instructions to attend the State of Hawaii virtual board meetings may be found online at the Hawaii State DCCA site.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, moving on to the agenda, we will now take roll call to establish quorum. If we have members on Zoom, please confirm that you are present and alone. Okay, Kevin Katayama. Here. Clayton Pang. Here. Howard Lau is excused. Ryan Fujiwara. Here. John Lucas. John Nakatani. Jay Ishibashi. Okay. Janet Primiano. Okay. Nancy Cassandro.
Here.
Joel Kurakawa.
Here.
Alan Inaba. Here. Melissa Carson.
Here.
And Tony Lau, I am here. So seeing we have a quorum, calling the meeting to order. And so as a reminder, board members, please state your name each time before you start speaking. Next agenda item, approval of the open session and executive session minutes of the June 12th, 2025 meeting. Are there any comments? Is there a motion?
I move by June 12th.
Motion by Brian,
Daniel second.
Nancy seconds. Any nays, recusals, abstentions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Minutes are approved. New business. A legislative liaison's appointment of legislative committee member. Board will consider appointing legislative liaison and backups to assist the executive officer with legislative matters for the 2026 legislative session. Theo, do you have any comments?
Yeah, definitely. So this will be my first legislative session coming up, but what I've learned so far, we want to have a liaison by the board for support during legislative session to testify, to be available for the most part, any kind of help that I might need. Technically, we would like the entire board to be available. Just to give you all the heads up that I might have questions that I'm going to give you a call about. So in that sense, it'd be very helpful if you would all consider yourselves just on call for questions or references for the next few months during legislative session. But at this time, it would be very helpful for the board and for myself to appoint a liaison, hopefully somebody who's on island regularly that will be on cooperative for the whole session, and a backup as well if that person is unfit. Next, we have to do that. Oh,
Actually, before we take any action, can we just confirm that there's no public?
Oh, okay, sorry. Brianna, are there any public comments on this topic?
There is no public testimony at this time, Chair.
Any volunteers or nominations for the liaison? Okay, Nancy
Volunteer as the liaison.
Cassandro is
That will be
volunteering.
my first time too.
Love it. I do very much appreciate that too, because of the SB's thing. And you'll be very there.
Also, there's rules, and also the engineering. That have requests.
Yeah. Yep, around a year ago, there was a big discussed rules, rule changes for the decoupling exam. Waiving the FB exam as the exam. Sorry, excuse me. I was reading my wrong. Decoupling exam and also adding the discipline of control system. And this would be probably, we'll address this in a future event. This would be. Talk about that.
You have a backup, or we all consider backup?
Yeah, we can discuss that.
Would you like to appoint an official backup?
I don't have the exact date. I believe it's actually, I think it's January 21st. Our date. Saying it. Yeah, I believe it's the third, usually it's third. And I believe it goes until sometime in May. I'm not sure about what date, but sometime in May.
Yep, I've got it right here. Opening day is Wednesday, January 21st. The session will adjourn. It's Friday. It's March 8th. Oh, May, excuse me, May.
So I'll volunteer, but I may be traveling. But there's a backup.
Yeah, let's establish a backup for April 11th. Anybody's gonna be around for it.
I'd be happy to volunteer. I think, I do have a meeting in April, but I think it's after the meeting. It's after. If you don't mind having two landscape architects.
Well, I think that'll be very helpful. I think that's gonna be the majority of the fight. We'll be the hands on that. For this. Good, thank you.
So, and I will volunteer to second that. Okay. Motion. There a motion to have Nancy be the official legislative liaison with Joel and myself as backup. First backups. Moved by Clayton. Second by Kevin. Any recusals, abstentions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 5, ongoing business. Discussion of the report from the landscape architect licensure requirements, permitted interaction group or PIG. Brianna, is there any public testimony on this agenda item?
There is no public testimony at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Brianna. Open for any discussions or anybody want to offer any discussion or comments on the report?
Joel, Nancy, would you mind giving just a quick brief summary, a quick refresher to kickstart the conversation?
Yeah, so, the pig was authorized, last couple of meetings. Was it in June? The June meeting? And, basically to review, Clark's uniform standard, that was established, by Clark 2022, it was published. And basically, the uniform standard involved a working group that included the American Society of Landscape Architects, the Council of Educators in Landscape Architecture members, review, and including Clark members studying this matter. The purpose of the uniform standard was to make licensure requirements more defensible across the United States, because we basically, licensure is under state. The only commonality that we really have is LARD exam, the licensing exam, and accredited landscape architecture degrees. Well, experience under a landscape architect varies from state to state. Some states don't even require any experience requirements. Some states like the Hawaii require 12. I think there are a few other states that require 12 years, but and then vast differences in between as well. So in the last 5 to 10 years, there's increase in attacks against licensure, trying to deregulate licensure, not only landscape architecture, but attacks against architecture, even engineering, and other professions as well. And so it's more of a philosophical difference, I think, with regulatory and non-regulatory environment. There are some folks that believe that the market should decide, right, who's a qualified professional. And anyway, so that was the basis of the Clark getting involved in trying to develop this standard, working with the broader professional education. But anyway, back in, like I mentioned, back in 2022, after the uniform standard was published, we did have a discussion on the board. June of 2022 board, licensing board meeting here, that I think there was a presentation, and discussed it, and the board actually voted in principle to support the uniform standard. And so, fast forward, when we introduced the bill that I can't remember exactly when, was earlier this year, the beginning of this year. It was kind of trying to make a change to the licensing requirements to align with the uniform standards. Now, this is a work in progress. I think there's 7 or 8 states currently that have already adopted the uniform standard. And so the ASLA supporting it, CLARB as well as CELA are all supporting moving toward that, understanding that it will be a multi-year challenge to get all the states. There's some states that don't want to open up their their laws to make changes because of the political atmosphere in those states. But fact remains that they're moving forward in that, the SLA is advocating for it, as well as these other organizations. And again, it's to make it a little easier for mobility of licensure, license landscape architects, from state to state, as well as addressing some of the equity issues. Hawaii is fortunate that we have multiple pathways already. Some states have very few pathways. Some states don't allow a no education pathway, but because Hawaii's condition, the past not having a local program in landscape architecture credit program, folks like myself had to go away to school in order to get an education in the field. Anyway, so we have multiple, we're trying to create multiple pathways to allow folks that may not be able to go to school, afford to go to school, to be able to have a pathway in that. And so the difference between with the big report says that, the actual difference between the uniform standard and our current requirements are very minor in that sense. But it increases, it allows a 2-year program, which we don't have yet in Hawaii. It also reduces the number of years if you have no education, formal education, down from 12 years down to 8 years. So it's doing that. And so, yeah, it's still not watering down the readiness of or the minimum requirements for practicing landscape architecture qualified. So anyway, the PIG report is basically recommending that this board support option.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any other comments?
I just wanted to clarify that. The early comment. So we started the pig was voted on and approved in August. And then we presented it for convert and then December is the evaluation. And I just wanted to add that just doing for is the 2 main areas that it changes is allowing a 2-year program to recognize, whereas we don't currently have that, but good, because for many years there was not a landscape architecture master's program, but the community, the landscape architects worked with UH for almost 30 years and established a master's program now. So there is a way that perhaps the landscape architecture ESLAs we have to do that. And the pathways without a degree, just being, I know that I don't know of anyone who's pursued a license without a degree, but I know several people that have an education, international education, that's not recognized. So they fall under that pathway, 12 years. So kind of like puts their career on hold. They have been able to work under offices, but doesn't recognize them as a professional until 12 years. It just there's lots of international programs, but according to ARB's research, 90% of the people who take the LARE and pursue licensing have either graduate or a master's degree, and that's here. So, yeah, the different pathways just allows that opportunities to those who are fall into that step.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other comments? Kevin.
Kevin Katayama, mechanical engineering. Thank you, Joel and Nancy for people. Just had a couple of questions. recommendations. This I was not clear about. Backtrack, I guess. So last legislative session, Senate Bill 1625, deleted all landscape requirements. It's go to understand it. That is this drastic law change that's written in other disciplines. That's why at that time we did the bill as written. But this time, I guess, maybe, you guys mentioned that to adopt a uniform standard, keep in the way state exam, other experience of the state departments. Are you gonna, with the intent to wipe it out again, like how the previous bill had it, rewrite it, or because all the state license requirements are in each category. So I was a bit confused about, you guys are recommending the difference of what was done last legislative session.
There's different ways to be able to do that. One is just,
What is your recommendation as
Well-
as their big committee? That's what I was getting
I
at.
mentioned it at previous meeting, did have that discussion that the law states that the board has the authority to make, right? That's in the law. However, also in the law, are all the details of that. So we cannot change that as the board. It requires legislative action. The same information is in the HAR, our administrative rules. All the details are there. We have the authority to make changes to the HAR. However, we cannot make changes to law. So there is a contradiction in the law. I'm not suggesting that we change the architects or the engineers. This, proposal or recommendation by the PIG is to affect only that section of the law that is related to landscape architecture.
How do you want what is our recommendation to the legislature to provide? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, so 1625 recommend taking up details so that they're to remove the contradiction, at least in the landscape architects section, that allows then the board through administrative rules to create make those changes and have it apply. And basically the law would refer to the rules, the HAR. And so that's
a drastic change for how the intent of our law is for the entire board. Because then you're gonna be, landscape architecture community is gonna be different from what the architects are, the engineers are, surveyors are in.
but I am saying that this section is not affecting the architects.
I know, but it's a step in that direction, right? You want to.
So
Change the law.
if there is resistance to changing the language, we can leave all the details in it. And then if we make another rules change, if we want to change the requirements again, we have to go through a legislative process. Is that what we want?
I'm just thinking that it should be uniform amongst all us as far as how the law is written, amongst all the disciplines. We are a multidiscipline. It's not only in one area of discipline. It's to be changed. So I think it's stronger for our law to be uniform amongst all our professional disciplines. The law, we can work with that to come up with goals.
Well, so that's like, I would say that that's up for discussion, how we word the language of the revision. that the PIG is recommending. But, so if in the PIG, before, Sheena stepped down, she responded to Senator Lori Wapi, who was the sponsor of SB 16.5. And she responded indicating the concerns of that it didn't address the state exam. But she did not indicate that it was a problem to remove the details of that. And she actually provided the executive officer's recommendation of what the wording should be so that we preserve the Hawaii State exam section in that. And so that's in the report as well.
Nancy?
Nancy Cassandra, Nancy, I fully understand these concerns, and I have those concerns as well. So the big just clarifies, we just looked at the comparison of the TARP uniform standard versus Hawaii and were the benefits to adopt it. And the conclusion was just to adopt it. So the 1620 SB 1625, that was before Joel removed all of the detailed language in the correct. It's completely different from all the other professions on this board, but then also other professions outside of fire. So that was a concern to me as well. So I can only offer my opinion about how the HRS and HAR works. I'm a professional landscape architect, not a legislator, but I view it as a checks and balances. That if there are drastic changes to requirements, then yeah, you have to go through the legislature. Because everyone here should know what's going on, and then the legislature should know what's going on. And I think that just from Schoolhouse Rock, it's the bill and the rules, the two different parties are just complementing each other. So, and I think that's a good question. So if you don't know what's going to happen 50 years from now, standards that we're reading are probably written when the licensing law was first made. So if you don't know what the future board would be like, but they're able to change it more than just delete it. So I agree that the legislative commission supports the rules and vice versa.
In my discussion with Senator Wapi, I asked her that question. You know, her response was, there probably wasn't a strong intention, and it was just really big.
The concern I have is the uniform standard changes. Our law only says to follow standards. And our rules have something else. That law overrides our rules.
We're not saying to follow the uniform standard. You're reading it up to the licensing board under HAR to make those rules. And so we don't have to refer to our uniform standard and actually have the details.
That's there. It's adopting standard. That's your statement.
Well, it would be adopting the uniform standard in the sense that those requirements are there. But again, the use of the term CLARB uniform standard does not need to be there. It's basically to align landscape architecture requirements to the uniform standard that was created by CLARB and so.
So Joel, just to clarify, what you're saying is you're proposing to include similar language in the previous Senate Bill 1625 that would refer to the rules, and the rules would then be edited to basically to match the CLARB uniform standard.
Well, that's one route. I'm not suggesting that we go that route. I think Kevin is more comfortable going that route so that it doesn't deviate from how architects and engineers are written. The thing that I want to point out though, in the law, it says we have the authority to make rules. But we don't, because the details are in the law.
I think, sorry, just maybe a lens. Yeah, but how our laws and rules each other. So, you know, it's true that each board has, and those rulemaking powers are derived from what's in our. So it can't, the rules that we make cannot contradict, it can't overstep, it cannot go outside the scope of what is provided under the law. I think the concern that I'm hearing is that as drafted, as currently codified, our laws have very specific requirements on education, on experience, things like that, in order to be licensed. And as drafted, for, you know, I think to effectuate currently as contemplated, to effectuate, I think this desire to bring in and to use the CLAR uniform standards as new standard. What's currently proposed is to write the law to say referred behavior. Such criteria will be made by rule. But I think that creates a different, I think what Kevin is pointing out is that may create a different standard compared to other like architects or engineers have very specific legal requirements that the rules have to reflect. And then one I guess one field that has just a very vague refer to our rules. Okay, I know that's not the intention, but it would appear that just the board has a unilateral authority to change the criteria as it comes, and that's different from what's presented for each profession. So I think maybe an alternative to what's being presented is more clearly writing in what the CLAR, I guess the specific CLAR standards that you would like into law, and then, you know, provide, you know, maybe some certain intricacies that can be provided under rule. And I think that's more consistent with how respective professions, laws, and rules are currently formulated, as opposed to just for landscape architecture, deleting all reference to things like lawful experience and education requirements and deferring it to rules. I think that's what I'm hearing. But I mean, sorry, all that to say is that, you know, the board does have rulemaking powers, but it has to derive from somewhere. And I think the more vague you make it, the more wiggle room you create for a board or a future board to say we can just do whatever we want. I don't know if that's what the legislature wants. I don't know if that's in the best of the public. That's what I'm hearing.
No, I understand, you know, I've been trying to understand why written rapidly, and it's the first time that I'm hearing that explanation on there.
To be clear, I don't know why the law was. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know why.
exactly. And all I'm looking at, I'm reading the language. I see that we can make rules, but the details are there. And so the only way to make a change to that is to go through a legislative process.
The details, correct. I mean, as one pathway or two pathways, three pathways, are the details in the law incorrect?
No, the details are not, but if we,
Do we keep those and just add something, another paragraph to provide all of the standards they can get a master's and go through all the things in the law, get a bachelor's and things in the law. There's another alternative, follow the standard. The last option is provided in the rules of the.
Barb has different. It's not the same as the public.
it's very similar, but
Yes, similar.
the number of years are different, you know, so you have to change all of those things. the thing that I'm questioning is the board. With a board of public members and experts in, you know, in these disciplines. Who is going to make rules? Is it going to be lawmakers that have very little knowledge of the, you know, the work that professionals do? No, they're going to rely on the professional board to make those rules. And so I don't know. I'm just trying to understand the law and why it was written that way. I see a contradiction. If we do that, do we take out that thing that we can make rules? We can recommend rules, but it has to be approved then by legislature.
I think so. Rules, just to clarify, so laws, any change to the law has to, any rule making is referred to this board. This board is the one who modifies and makes.
Yeah, well, cannot change the rules because the details.
I understand it. So I think, sorry, I don't want to interject and cause any.
No, I'm just trying to understand because we're going through this.
So from what I'm hearing, Clark has inconsistent standards that are inconsistent with what our statutes hold. And what you're trying to accomplish is to make it more in line with what Clark has, because that's the trend across and it's just a matter of how to get there. I think what I'm hearing is that, I mean, as currently drafted, are there ways to revise the current language to make it more consistent? And
Yes, and actually, Clark's consultant did provide options of how we can do that. One was to leave the land and just make those changes to the details in that.
so, I mean, I think that what I'm hearing is that that's something that maybe Kevin can work. Perhaps I interjected.
More in line with how the rest of the profession is.
So then let me offer the flip side of it. We go with the format in Senate Bill 1625, amended with the EO's additional statements. Does it provide benefit to this board if ultimately we decide to change the other professions, architects, surveyors, engineers, to match a similar format where we refer to rules in the law? But yeah, I guess it gives flexibility, but is that in our best interest?
We're kind of gearing towards attorney-client questions, so if you guys want to discuss that in executive session, if it's
Okay. Anybody move to go into executive session?
Make a motion to move to executive session.
Just a second. Dennis seconds. Any need for recusals? All in favor, say aye. Okay, we're gonna move into executive session. And we are back to open session. Any other discussions on this topic of the landscape architect licensure requirement big report? If not, is there any motion?
If we're not ready to vote yet, we can defer this and have more conversation at the next meeting. So that is not.
Well, the bill would not. Or, yeah, well, not necessarily. Yeah, it could move forward, but it won't have the board support.
Anybody offering opinion?
Like, make a proposal of what we should. Hold on.
Like,
That the board supports the intent of the big report to align with the uniform standard pending language to you know, the actual edits to the law, the revisions to the law that would get board support.
So just to repeat, just to understand. So Joe is offering, asking the board to accept the report pending the detailed, edits to the law. The edits to the law. Second by Brian. Any nays, recusals, abstentions? I'm gonna do a roll call vote for this.
Just an intent.
Okay, roll call vote. So just to clarify again, the motion is to ask the board to accept the intent of the pig report, but still needing to finalize the actual recommended edits to the law. As written. Okay, roll call vote. Kevin?
Yeah.
Yes. Clayton? Brian?
Yes.
John? Janet?
Yeah.
Nancy?
Yes.
Joel?
Yeah.
Alan? Lisa? And Tony, yes. Okay, so the motion passes. What is the next step? You come up with the.
My understanding is that, I know that I'll be, since we, I'll include you in my contact, the senator's office, letting you know that we have, voted to support his recommendation based on what they do with like editing like the bill. And then it's increased because and constant update of that editing process.
We need it maybe to formulate the actual edit.
I have edits that were made by it's what's it, right?
Right.
And I can share it. I'm not sure, it can be distributed. So basically, it leaves all the requirement details in the HRS, and it just amends it to align with the standard.
But is the pig still officially
So the big, it's all.
resolved, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you want to share, if we want to discuss specific amendments, I only know that we should probably do it at a duly meeting. Can't legally do it outside of sunshine. Right.
Said that the papers created.
Yes.
We create a pig to come up with a recommendation to present for the edits. at the next board meeting?
If it's, I'm just gonna suggest, if it's already formulated, if what you're saying is there's already a draft. of
Yes,
it,
there is a draft.
And you
This
just
is
wanted,
separate from the
Unless you-
recommendations that.
Well,
she
we
sent.
didn't put it in, we could have just put it all in there.
This thing. Okay. Yeah, so it's drafted and it's distributed to.
at the next meeting, for purposes of the next. And you can just do that as opposed to, because if you make a pig, you have to do that, then wait another meeting. If it's already drafted, and it can just be put in place on the agenda as proposed, you know. And it's as a result of the recommendation. Further discuss it as just a different.
And we will have more frequent meetings for legislative session. I have to get some monthly meeting. I know we normally meet, final. For legislative session, we have scheduled. So if there's nothing to meet about, we can cancel the meeting, but it's fine.
I think it will be a perfect, then you're, look at work.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have a path forward. Okay, agenda item number 6, applications. Do I have a motion to move into executive session in accordance with HRS 92-4 and 92-5A1 and 4 to consider and evaluate personal information related to individuals applying for licensure and to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Do I have a motion? Motion by Nancy, seconded by Kevin. Nays, recusals, abstentions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, moving into executive session. So this, okay, so in this case.
Second.
Okay, we are back in open session. Continuing on with the agenda, 6 applications, item A, ratification list attached to the agenda. Brianna, is there any public testimony?
There is no public testimony at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Brianna, is there a motion to approve the ratification list? So moved by Kevin. Seconded by Alyssa. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item 6B, recommendations from the following application reviews committee. Attached to the agenda, the Professional Engineer Committee, Professional Architect Committee, Professional Surveyor Committee, Professional Landscape Architect Committee. Brianna, is there any public testimony regarding these recommendations?
There is no public testimony at this time, Chair.
Brianna, is there a motion to approve the recommendations from the application review committees as attached? So moved by Kevin. Second, Alan. Any nays, recusals, abstentions? Not all in favor, say aye. Agenda item 6C, engineers. Number 1, Eamon Baku. Application for P via endorsement. Is there a motion? I would like to make a motion regarding this application.
Brian, I'm to accept this application. Well, we-
Brian has made a motion to accept the application. Is there a second? Second by Clayton. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Second engineer, Josh Joffrion. Is there a motion? Nancy, I have a motion to accept the application. Is there a second? Second by Kevin. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Next, architect, William Simmons Jr. Is there a motion, please?
Accept. William Simmons application.
Okay, there's been a motion by Brian Fujiwara to accept the application. Is there a second? Second by Nancy. Any nays, recusals, or abstentions? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you for that. Motion passes. Agenda item 7, executive officers report. Eli.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and as we come to the end of our meeting, looking forward to the future, we have our tentative meeting schedule for 2026. See in your meeting, or in your packet. The next meeting will be January 22nd, the special legislative meeting will be meeting monthly during legislative session unless there's nothing to talk about. But we have a slot available until the end of session. And once we get to the April 9th meeting, we'll be going back to every other day for the rest of the week. And with the NEW meeting, I think is also the schedule for the application review. The review. Feel free to keep that. If you need another copy, please email me. I'm happy to supply another copy of that schedule as well. Happy holidays. Thank you very much.
Just a note on the application review committee. That's, a lot of times we traditionally meet on the second Tuesday, but note there are a few dates that are not on the second Tuesday. So just make a note of that.
Second.
Okay, again, the next meeting, tentatively or scheduled, if necessary, is January 2nd, January 22nd. legislative meeting. Other than that, meeting is adjourned, 11:30. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Dude.